Time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
First ever for the show as we are in Tampa today, getting ready for ECU baseball coming up at 6:30 tonight. Welcome in an extended edition of the Patrick Johnson Show here on 94.3 The Game. Philip the Ref Pilkington will be providing commentary back into the show, leading us into a 6:15 start time for ECU baseball coverage tonight. Yours truly and Gary Overton. Been a great trip so far. Hopefully we can punctuate it tonight with a Pirate win in Game 1 of the series against South Florida. Right now, the Pirates are 2 games behind USF, who sits in third. And USF, South Florida, has a game lead on Tulane and Florida Atlantic. Now, Florida Atlantic took 2 of the last 3 this past weekend in conference. So they've got the tiebreaker, if you will, against South Florida. South Florida was sitting in second for a lot of the year. Feel like the Pirates, this is, it's always interesting to travel with the team. And shout out Eddie Losner, gave me great accommodations here. We're at Embassy Suites on campus at USF. So it's been a beautiful thing. The hotel has been tremendous. Coach Godwin seems in good spirits, and we'll talk to him in our pregame coming up in a little bit. Mike Mullis will be with us, but this team, there doesn't seem to be – I think being away, Pilk, is going to be a big deal. Let me just say that. There's a tremendous amount of expectation, and the team and program have created that by what they have done over the last 7 or 8 years in particular. So as far as I'm concerned, when I look at this, Pilk, I think to myself, this is a loose group. And I think they're going to, they were over at the stadium earlier today doing some hitting, had a practice yesterday. I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. Thank you, Pilk, for filling in too. I don't know exactly yet what we're doing tomorrow. So stand by for that, Pilk, but thank you for filling in yesterday on the show. It was a good travel day. So how are you hanging in there, Pilk? I know you had to get up this morning and do Talk of the Town. I mean,
yeah, quadruple duty today for me. So I'm hanging in there.
Oh, here we go.
Use a little caffeine, got a little power nap, and now I'm ready to go for a fun night, ready to carry this back into this show after. Now, it is going to be a huge downgrade from the starter to the reliever, obviously, in this show. But then we'll pick it back up.
Well, now, wait a minute. What does that mean? Don't. Come on now. I'm not chopped liver. You're talking about Dylan Johnson and me, aren't you? No. I know. I'm kidding.
I'm talking about you to me.
Yeah, Dylan is not here this weekend. That's why I'm here. Dylan will be here for the conference tournament. I'm flying back on Sunday morning.
No, so, I'm saying bad starter to the reliever on the Patrick Johnson show. It's a fall off. You're going to have to get a big lead.
I'm joking with you. Mike Mullis a little bit. So I got a call earlier today, and I've taken some notes on this. I hope I'm explaining it correctly. Now, they're in a situation with the budget in the state of North Carolina. The House right now is going through their budget. The Senate's already passed theirs. Will the Senate agree with this? That's what it's going to come down to. But this would be receipts from sports wagering. It's a line item. I've been sent the budget. I've had it explained to me. I've looked through it. So this would be a line item in the budget, line item number 117. Athletic budget support from sports wagering. So as you know, there has been an effort to increase the amount of money and the receipts from sports wagering, one in part because it's been so successful in North Carolina, but also in part, who spent a gazillion dollars to bring in a former NFL coach and his muse? Which university did that, Pilk? Can you answer that for me? I can't seem to think of it. Who is
the Tar Heels did that.
University north of Carborough. So, in an effort to, because this is what I was told today. UNC can't afford to pay Bill Belichick with the budget as it currently is. I mean, they can afford to pay him, but it would make things awfully uncomfortable in the People's Republic at Chapel Hill. So, as we talked about a few weeks ago, there was this effort to have money put into out of the gambling receipts into the athletic departments at NC State and UNC, because you cannot give North Carolina this amount of money without doing so for NC State. Well, there's some members of the House who have fought like hell, apparently, in this budget. I've seen the House. This is the House version of the budget that is being proposed. North Carolina, NC State, Appalachian State, Charlotte, and our beloved East Carolina Pirates pill would all get for fiscal year 25-26 $12.1 million for gambling receipts. In fiscal year 26-27, it would be $14.2 million. Again, for all of those institutions. So it's an equal amount as opposed to NC State and, most importantly, North Carolina getting that amount. That's what the Senate wanted. The House has come up with this. Again, they've got to agree to this. There is a recurring allocation in the ECU portion of the budget that would be close to 11 million, maybe to anywhere between 11 and 14 million, just below that, like not 10.9, 13.9. And so that, again, and I hope I'm explaining this where it makes sense, that would be recurring money every year. And then whatever you would have on top of that is where you would get, example, the 12.1 or the 14.2. So that's a positive for East Carolina. I mean, if you're going to insert $24 million into ECU athletics the next 2 years, giddy up. Now, I say athletics. This is being, again, athletic budget support from sports wagering is what this is being called. I've heard at some of the lower level, mid-levels like UNCW, Asheville, Western Carolina, UNCG, this would be mainly used towards paying coaches. UNCW, Western Carolina, UNCA, Asheville, and UNCG would get $3.5 million in the fiscal year 25-26 that would start July 1st in this House version of the budget, $3.9 million next year. And they're guaranteed recurring, I should say guaranteed, but they're recurring monies in the $2 million, $2+ million range. Of course, this could all be tweaked next summer if the bill does not pass. This is, again, under the guise of athletic support. The Senate has to agree to this. And, of course, I was cautioned that there's a shot that the budget won't be passed. But here's where I was told expect the budget to pass. Because, again, what happened at North Carolina with the hiring of Belichick, this infuses money into the system that they are having to use towards Belichick's gaudy salary. I mean, it's a little more, it's more than that, obviously, but it does infuse that amount of money in there. I got the sniffle. I'm fine till I go on the air and I get the sniffles. Maybe I'm allergic to broadcasting, Bill. But that's the story there. So what does this mean, Philip? When you hear all of that, what did I explain that? Because I'm assuming this is the first time you've heard this. Yeah. This is separate from Charlotte getting $25 million from their football stadium. That's a whole separate kettle of corn. This is essentially the gambling receipt money going into universities. Now I know there's also a desire by community college athletic departments. We had Chris Parker on from the NJCAA a couple days ago. And you know, the community colleges in the state of North Carolina would like to have some athletic gambling money go to them, not because people are gambling on JUCO sports, but because it would be a way, because the receipts are so gaudy. There's that word again. The receipts are so huge that they could go and you could put some, and you wouldn't even have to put that anywhere like a UNCW amount of money in there. Just a little bit of money, it would make such a big difference at a place like Pitt Community or LCC or something like that with their athletics. But not to get everything crossed up here. Did I explain this in a manner that you think our average listener will understand? In other words, somebody has done some work in the House or some bodies to ensure that East Carolina gets the same amount of money and Charlotte that North Carolina and NC State MUU would get.
Yeah, and this is a huge thing. You know, we talk about the haves and the have-nots in college athletics, and unfortunately the haves are the Power Five. And there is a huge discrepancy with the state. If you want your teams at the Group of Five level to be successful, you need to treat all FBS programs the same. They are treating all FBS programs the same by the letter of this law, and this will create opportunities for these teams when playing out-of-conference games, which you almost hope, and I know this sounds greedy, and I'm not wishing bad on other schools, but the teams in your conference who, A, either don't have sports gambling in their state, which would allow them to get nothing, or B, a team that does have sports gambling in their state, you hope that their state is very biased to that Power Four, very biased to the University of whatever and the state university. Whereas, I don't know if gambling is legal in Florida, but that'd be a perfect example. You got Florida, you got Florida State, and then you got the teams in our conference. So this is a huge opportunity. It proves that the state lawmakers want to see success, not just from NC State and North Carolina, but we all are part of the UNC system, and this is giving the opportunity to these schools. This is very wise.
Yeah, I think it's a positive thing. I have not, again, delved enough into this line item. I went through it, and I'm just looking at a list here. Florida actually does not have legalized sports betting. Did you know that?
I figured they probably wouldn't, but I was just throwing out a state in there.
Now they have a lottery, and they do have track betting, and they have casinos.
Okay. But
they don't have I was just looking at a list when you said that. They're not one of the states that has sports betting. So since I'm in Florida right now, if I wanted to place a bet, say on the PGA Championship, I am geo-fenced out of doing that.
You'd have to text me and Venmo me the money, and I'd have to do it for you. I mean, that's the way around it. I never probably it's illegal to do what I just said, but at the end of the day, you Venmo me $5. I put a bet, I Venmo you the $5 back. I mean,
we're not the first ones to do that. I know some others, perhaps in certain professions, that do that sort. Well, here we go. We're connected. I can hear better now.
Oh, I didn't change anything. I can no longer hear you. You got to punch in and punch out. When this thing, it changes the settings. But yeah, what we said though, the thing is, Patrick, you're still a North Carolina resident, so I don't think it's bad. Just you had the luxury to travel this week, so I think that kind of is what it is. Patrick's trying to get his stuff figured out, but speaking of Patrick, while he's trying to get it figured out, just a reminder: we are going to have Mike Mullis on the show here in just a few moments. We're about to connect with him at the end of this segment. So we're going to go ahead and take a break here on the Patrick Johnson Show and link up with Mully. After we talk to Mully, Patrick's going to sign off. Probably going to do 2 segments with Mully, and then I'll take you home as he and Coach O are going to have to start filling out their lineup cards for Game 1 between East Carolina and South Florida. That will be on 94.3 The Game following the Patrick Johnson Show.
We're back to the show.
I missed you. We all missed you. Did you miss him?
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Okay, welcome back. P-Man from Tampa. I'll be headed over to the ballpark here in a few minutes, getting ready for ECU and USF tonight. East Carolina, South Florida, first pitch at 6:30. And myself and Coach O on 94.3 The Game, the ECU Sports Network, and the IBX Media app. Hope you'll join us for that, or even turn down the sound of ESPN Plus, the docile tones of the P-Man, and the penetrating insight of Dr. Gary Overton on your radio dial tonight. I've gotten a lot of Mike Mully comments on this trip so far. Mike Mullis comments. Mullis joins us here on the Patrick Johnson Show, as he is apt to do before Pirate Baseball. Miss you, buddy. Looking forward to being back with Coach O tonight. But as I told a couple of the coaches yesterday, Jeff Palumbo in particular, I said Mike Mullis is the best, man. He can spin a phrase at Mike Mullis. Folksy is the word. Folksy. By the way, I don't know this for a fact, Mully, but I have picked up that this is a amongst the baseball team. This is a show that they tune into frequently. I've kind of indicated that's been indicated a little bit to me.
Well, that's good. They should, and I hope you're enjoying your time down in sunny Florida. And, kind of a return to old for you. And it's what a cool time. Yeah, you and Coach O have a great time, and hopefully a great series to call.
Well, the Pirates are 2 back of South Florida right now in 3rd place. for third place. Who they are also a game ahead of South Florida of Charlotte and FAU. FAU's got the tiebreaker. I'm not sure about Charlotte. That'll be something I need to look up before the broadcast. But I'm just looking through some of these numbers for the Pirates right now, and well, I tell you what. Let's start with a little bit. I don't want to call it an elephant in the room, but I think I mean, we could talk about the game, and we will do that and talk about the series. Some of the big news, if you will, was Keenan Bowman going into the portal. He's not on the trip, obviously, and that's really all I could say about it at this point. Look, it's not exactly how many go into the portal; it's who goes into the portal, is how it's been described to me, and that's just common sense, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't think it's kind of funny you bring that up. It's a little bit of a maybe a little bone of contention of mine. I see where Keenan via social media announced that he'd be entering the portal, and fairly immediately the Pirate fan base kind of sailed on him largely. There was some supporters, but a lot of really snide type comments. And I think people need to understand, PJ, in today's environment, there are a lot of moving parts to decisions to go into the portal, and it sometimes it is solely the player's decision. Sometimes he is ushered into the portal by the coaching staff. Sometimes there's a combination thereof, but it is not an indictment upon the loyalty of the player necessarily every time. Matter of fact, I would say the large majority of the time these decisions are being made but for a multitude of reasons. And not to get into Keenan Bowman's situation specifically, but it's not that kids are going into the portal, and especially in baseball, and especially for a player that's a good player, but is not certainly a projected first or second round pick. These kids are going into the portal for the cash grab. It's not there. Might they improve their scholarship situation? Might they pick up $5 or $10 grand? Yeah. Now Zach Root, different situation potentially. Bristol Carter, potentially a different situation. Both of those guys highly regarded, especially Zach Root, left-handed pitcher, the success he's had, and he'll be a wealthy young man at the draft this year. But that's not what we're seeing with Keenan Bowman. And I also want people to understand Keenan Bowman making the announcement that he's going to go into the portal, and this is not me having spoken to Keenan Bowman. This is just me understanding the wows that are. That statement is basically letting coaches know that, hey, effective June the 2nd, I'll be available and I want to continue to play. And quite frankly, when you're looking at a year where there may be potentially as many as 4,000 baseball players enter the portal because of roster reduction, I would think it would be fairly important to any of us that we would want to get our names out there as quickly as possible. Not that there can be earnest conversations at this point, that the coaches cannot contact Keenan Bowman directly, but they can certainly contact people that these players know, and to let them know that, hey, come June the 2nd, man, I'm going to be calling you so we can pick up our conversation. And, oh, by the way, are you playing summer ball? If so, you got to remember most of the summer ball starts May 25th-ish. So these coaches can get a chance to get out and see these players before the portal opens. So a lot of this wasn't a shot over the bow of Pirate Nation. This wasn't ill-intended, in my opinion. This was to let the baseball world know at large, hey, I'm going to be available. I want to continue to play. And those that recruited me previously, I just want y'all to know that I want to play. I'm going to be out there, and I'm not going to be in East Carolina next year.
And let me just add to that by saying I was told today that Keenan alerted the coaching staff he was doing this. So from his standpoint, he handled this the right way. So I just add that as further evidence that this is not a kid who is disloyal. This is a young man who, as you say, is letting it be known, I'm still active, I want to play. He's just not here with the team right now for this Florida swing, and that's fine. But he did the right thing. And I think that tells you about the character of this kid. And I think it tells you his intent, as you just so aptly put there, Mike. So I don't know if you have a comment to add to that. There's going to be kids, I hate to burst the bubble of Pirate baseball fans, but there are going to be guys that are in this hotel right now or getting ready to get on the bus to head over to the stadium that are going to be who are going to just jump in the portal and not tell a soul. But it's everywhere.
Yeah, to kind of put a lid on this topic, PJ, you went down the path I was going to go. I don't know what the number will be, but there will be a fairly large number of kids. Some names will be recognized, some will not be recognized, that will not be at East Carolina next year one way or the other. Again, be it their decision or be it the decision made by the staff that number one, we're heading into a phase that's still very murky about roster reduction and what that exactly is going to look like. Every time everybody thinks it's been figured out and here's what the mandate will be, the mandate seems to change. It's all very suggestive right now. So as they're trying to manage that, again, manage roster size, manage new scholarship limits, that creates guys, that creates a loss of spaces with an increase in scholarships. So there's good and bad, like with most things in life. But this is going to continue to happen. And again, it's not just because a kid announces he's going in the portal. I just wish that we as a general public would let each kid have their own experience and recognize that, it could have been a really good play. It might just not have been a great fit. These decisions are made by these kids to commit to these colleges when they're in their, it used to be 15, 16 years old. Now now it is a little bit later. But think about all of us, how much life changes between being a 16-year-old and a 19 or 20-year-old. So,
Right,
I just wish that again, we would grant these kids the grace that we would all want for ourselves or for our children, and understanding that life is an evolutionary process and that we do change and priorities change. And, and it's not they're not necessarily disloyal. I mean, if someone is to be deemed disloyal, it would be a coach that is making millions of dollars a year that leaves one program to go to another to make more millions of dollars a year. That is a lack
And we've
of
seen that.
loyalty, and that is strictly all the time, and that is strictly a business choice. But when you have a young person that's making decisions for their best interest, I think we need to grant them, again, a little bit of grace and understand that we might not know all the moving parts, and it's not just about the fact that I want to be somewhere else.
And the other part, when I say we've seen that, I'm talking about in baseball. We've seen this. We obviously have seen it in football and basketball for years. Now coaches are making a lot of money in certain college baseball programs, good money, life-changing money, and they're taking even bigger dollars, sometimes within the conference to do this. So I totally agree with what you're saying there. You say 4,000, is that the number? Thing. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
The absolute reverse is the fact that you've had a guy like Cliff Godwin, the fact that you've had a guy like Jeff Palumbo, the fact that that staff has stayed intact, and quite frankly, everybody that keeps up with any level of college baseball, even at the most novice level, knows that both those guys have had opportunities, but they have absolutely displayed the ultimate loyalty to East Carolina to stay. So this story goes both ways. The comment about the kids is one way that it needed to be kind of publicly spoken about, but the fact that Cliff Godwin, Jeff Palumbo have stayed together, have kept the core of that staff together, and have stayed right here at Greenville when they've had opportunities to go elsewhere, that's a positive part of this whole deal. So I think that merits notice as well.
Mike, how many kids are you saying are going to be in the portal? What's the belief for that?
I don't know, PJ. I would guess, and strictly guess, and this is this number is based off of what the preliminary roster reduction number looks like, and what I think that the Pirates come, as opposed to just saying players going in the portal. I think through pure movement, I think you're looking back at another 20 plus new players coming in next year. I think that's an easier way to look at it than, because you're going to have the grads. You're going to have, there's different situations of why people will be off the roster. But I think you're going to be in that situation where you're looking at, 20 plus. I think last year there were 23, if I remember correctly, coming into the season. might even have been 26. I can't remember the exact number, but I think you're in that 20-plus number again, just based off of all the moving parts.
All right, Mully, we're going to have you hang through the break here, and we'll do a preview of the thing for tonight, for the game tonight in the series. Of course, I'm back on East Carolina weight loss, back with my friends there. 10 pounds is what I'm down the last month. You can take part. Join me. It's 252-496-3610. Lost 60 pounds on East Carolina weight loss the first time when the sports season hit. I wasn't as diligent as I needed to be in certain months, but I'm back on it, and I'm already down 10 pounds here. So no exercise is needed, although I try to walk as much as possible, and we'll get back into that. No packaged meals, no bars, no shakes, no drugs, no surgeries with the risk of serious side effects. This resets your metabolism and helps you keep the weight off for good, unless you just abandon the lifestyle like I did, like a dummy. Clients can lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Like I said, I'm already down 10 pounds in a month, and that's with traveling around and doing ball games. It's tough when you travel and do that. It is 252-496-3610, 252-496-3610 to join East Carolina Weight Loss today. Pilk, do we go to you, or do we you want to go to you? All right, we're going to Philip the Rep Pilkington here with a sports flash update and Pirate report, and then wrap up our conversation with Mike Mullis here on the PJ Show.
Thank you, P-Man. As we've been talking about with Mike, and we'll continue to talk about in our next segment, the Pirates will open their series against South Florida tonight down in Tampa. PGA and Coach O will be on the call, but it's the first time the Pirates have played since last Saturday when they split that doubleheader with UTSA. Looking at the ice tonight, the Hurricanes will try and close out their second-round series against the Capitals. Game 5 will be played inside our nation's capital at 7 o'clock. The late night cap, it'll also be a Game 5, also where the higher seed is down. Winnipeg hosting Dallas. Dallas has a 3-1 lead in that series. Moving over to the hard court, Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals between the Thunder and the Nuggets, live from the Mile High City tonight, and the Thunder looking to close out the Nuggets in that one. Last night, the Bird Dogs did fall to New Jersey 8-3. They will be back in action hosting the same New Jersey team tonight at 7 o'clock. That'll do it for your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. Can take a time out here on the Patrick Johnson Show. We'll be back with Mike Mullis on the other side.
Oh, hey, welcome back.
Oh, look who's back reporting for duty.
You got here just in time.
Holy nuts, man.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Patrick Johnson reporting from Tampa, where ECU and South Florida will be doing battle in a little bit. I'm about to head over to the stadium. Pilk will walk you the rest of the way, but we wanted to finish up our conversation here with Mike Mullis and preview the matchup. Mike, I saw a guide this morning heading down to get some of the broadcast equipment into my possession, and rode down the elevator and talked a little bit as I went to get some coffee before that to Alex Peltier. He's on the trip here, and what a great guy. I know you're a big Peltier fan, much taller in person than I thought. But you may know this, you may not, but I think this is just a cool little factoid because we were talking about Riley Johnson. Those guys room together, or at least they're rooming together on this trip. How cool is that? And I think that gives you maybe a little bit of some insight into the inner workings of this program.
Yeah, it's it's not uncommon, PJ, to kind of group your positionally group your guys, and then you to have a senior with a freshman, and I think the impact that that maybe there's a certain level of learning by osmosis that Peltier, he just being in the same room, I don't know, maybe the aura of Riley Johnson, but yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, Peltier's a good player. I mean, man, he was really first third of the year. He looked like he was the answer to a lot of questions, and he's had some ups and downs, and we've seen him, kind of in platoon situation, spot play, some pinch running, and he's had, some woes defensively in the outfield. But a guy that's certainly a ton of upside, really good athlete, good runner, a guy that his future is bright.
I saw that was really cool. And again, just some insight into kind of the culture and how things are done. Let's talk about Riley Johnson. What an emotional moment in the last home game of the year with him sacrificing the runners into scoring position that proved to be the game tying and game winning runs against UTSA.
Yeah, and if you look at the whole day, man, game one, he's a double away from the cycle. I on the broadcast, I'd kind of called for a Riley Johnson home run, and he didn't give us one in that at bat, but the next at bat, he hit a ball out of the park. And man, I thought what a cool moment, and honestly thought that might be that. I really thought that might be the last that we see of Riley Johnson, and then he comes up in the last half of the home half of the ninth, and actually swings through a pitch for a third strike, and I thought, well, okay, he's not going to go out like that. He comes back, plays game two, and I just, the sound of Coach Godwin kind of in my mind saying, man, it's just hard for him to be out there for 3 games, much less a doubleheader. And you could see he was moving, a little tentatively, and I guess, I don't know, about the 6th or 7th inning, man, he gets to third base and he's cramping up, and you could see it's like when it hits him hard. And then you're right, man, that huge situation comes up, runners first and second, and does what Riley Johnson does. They give him one pitch to see if he can, maybe get a swing off, but it doesn't work out. And the very next pitch, he lays down a sac bunt and is just busting it through first base, which again, just his calling card, his style of play. Kind of reminds me of a guy that I really loved watching play when I was growing up was Lenny Dykstra, and that's kind of who Riley Johnson, that nails tough kind of guy. But, he gets through first base and comes up with calf cramps and, and still in typical, Riley fashion, tries to get up and walk off the field, and he, kind of wasn't going to be carried if he could help it. And, man, he looked like a marathoner at the Boston Marathon that was trying to finish that last 100 yards, and his legs just wouldn't cooperate. And really cool moment. You get the 2 players, matter of fact, the starting pitcher who had been taken out of the game for UTSA and one of their guys off the bench come in and kind of lift him up and, put him on their shoulder, if you will, and kind of pass him off to these teammates. So it was very, quite frankly, a look around, and there was a lot of emotion from fans and a lot of emotion from just period. You could see the players but as they made the exchange, man, it was a little symbolic there of the warrior that Riley Johnson has been, and kind of being returned back to his folks was kind of what it invoked. And yeah, what a cool deal. And again, I've said this before, Riley Johnson's not I've admired that kid from afar. It's not that I bet I haven't said 5 words to Riley Johnson, if it's even that many. But it's just the style of play, the way he goes about it, and as a guy who is more of an old school baseball guy, he would be the epitome of a throwback or a game or 2 terms of endearment that we don't throw around lightly. So yeah, what a cool deal, and I'm glad we all got to see it. And man, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him play well here, in this last weekend, and I'm sure he'll rest a fair amount to get ready for the conference tournament.
Yeah, he's cobbled together a 4-game hit streak. Right now on a team-leading current hit streak is Braden Burris. Some word that he, he's going to go and play with the hometown Legion or Wooden Bat team this summer, the Yard Gnomes. Some murmurs that and no reason other than maybe just he's had quite a year. I don't want to say shut down, but, we'll see what ends up happening. To be announced, I guess, with Braden there. But when you just look at the year he had a fabulous series against UTSA. He's been the breakout guy, and he looks like sort of the next big superstar for this program. And I think with, as you say, many as maybe 20 some odd new players that could be on the roster. All indications are he will be staying in Greenville, and that's a great thing. And there's a guy you can maybe build the franchise around for the next few years.
Yeah, I think we cautiously crown him. If you'll think back to what, Jacob Jenkins Coward was kind of the last one that coming out of their freshman year was the heir apparent as you look forward to the sophomore year. And it had an adverse effect on JC from the standpoint of him trying to do too much. He had to settle back in and kind of find himself and went on to play quite well. But yeah, Braden Burris is. I think that quite honestly, I think Braden Burris has probably surprised maybe everybody but himself, and quite potentially surprised himself in his level of play. You know, if you go back to the first weekend of the season, man, he comes out game one and I think he has 3 hits, maybe even had 4. The next game turns around and has 4 strikeouts, and he kind of disappeared for a little while. They did a great job of managing him and let him kind of regroup and spot play and sit back and watch it. And sometimes you just have to understand that you do belong. You kind of saw the same thing with Braxton Trammell, where it got a little got a little fast for him, but came back prior to the injury and played really well. So, yeah, Braden Burris is a fun guy to watch, man. It's when he goes to the plate, there's almost a sense of an expectation that he's going to hit the ball hard. I mean, he's not going to strike out a ton, and again, a lot of his outs are well hit balls, just kind of right at people where people make good plays. So, yeah, he's going to be one that is going to be fun to watch. And I listen, shut him down for the summer might not be a bad thing. Of course, baseball players want to play baseball, but you think about it, his high school team was on a state championship run. They win it last year. He basically goes and plays a little bit of summer ball. Then boom, they roll right into the fall, which is super intense at East Carolina, and then a full season. So yeah, whatever decision they end up making with Braden, I'm sure will be the right one.
Before we get to this, it's part of this you're going to hear for the first time. Before I get some keys to the series for you. So we reported earlier in the House budget, there's an appreciable amount of gambling revenue that will go towards East Carolina University, up from where it is now and on par with what NC State and North Carolina are receiving. So essentially it is could be. There's a lot still to be done with this, but you're looking at a potential of an infusion of over $26 million into the ECU athletic department from athletic budget support is where it is in the proposed budget as a line item. I'm trying to explain this without retelling the whole story again. The long and the short of it is this. If you're East Carolina, because you pay a lot of attention to this, if you're a program like East Carolina in the American, and you could get through gambling revenue a shot in the arm of $26 million over a 2-year period based on the budget, that's huge, isn't it?
Oh yeah, listen. Anytime you can get that significant of an influx of funds is such a big deal, especially when you're a program like East Carolina that has made things work through some very generous contributors and donations to just trying to figure out kind of creative ways to go about things. And you look at where the debt is, and man, if you could stabilize your bottom line in some shape, form, or fashion with that type of an immediate revenue hit, especially one that was kind of unexpected, I guess at the household level would be kind of like getting your tax refund check. Hey, look at this, got a little more than I thought. So I mean, I guess when the eagle flies high, even for or potentially for athletic department. So yeah, I mean, it would be a great thing, and I think it's just a matter of unfortunately, to those of us that are just common old folks, $26 million sounds like an awful lot of money, and it is. But when you start looking at what it costs to operate an athletic department at the Division I level, $26 million is great to have. You certainly will take it, but it's not all the money in the world like it would feel like if it was going into my bank account and the impact it would have directly on just my family.
Sure, pretty good infusion. By the way, if you ever do get the $26 million hit, can a brother hold $1? That's all I'm asking, Mo. I don't need a lot.
Yeah, listen, if that were to happen, I mean, yeah. Well, if you could find me, I would give you, I'd help you out.
That'd be the issue. Is finding you. The great Mike Mullis here, who I know will be watching this series with great intent starting tonight. Mully, it's a one game at a time proposition. Let's just say that. So what do you think the Pirates have to do to get off to a good start in this series tonight against USF as they close out the regular season?
It's always interesting this time of the year. In my opinion, you kind of have 3 categories of teams. You have the teams like, for example, UTSA. They're in. They know what their fate is. Their number's sealed. Then you have the teams that are, hey, we're trying and we're going to do everything we can to play it out, and we do still have goals, and I think that's kind of where East Carolina is. And then you have the teams that are just like, well, we'll play the string out because we have to, but it's kind of inconsequential to whatever happens. We're not going to make the conference tournament. All these things. So, interesting, I think, with East Carolina. And PJ, I've said this publicly. I've said this to people that'll just come up and say, hey, what do you think? And I truly believe in my heart that East Carolina has every chance in the world to win the conference tournament. Now, I think the path is pretty clear. It's got to be through the winners bracket with the with the diminished number of arms in the bullpen. But I think, when you get to that point, I think, anything is still possible. So this weekend, I think, is about managing that opportunity. I think it's okay. How important is seeding to us? Because, in that first game, everybody's got a guy. Now, would you rather face Gillespie, the UNC Charlotte's Friday night guy, who by all accounts could potentially be the conference pitcher of the year, or would you rather face a lesser person? Sure, give me the lesser guy, but you got to beat somebody to get to the next round. So I don't know how important Coach Godwin and staff, I don't know how much weight they put on the seeding, and I think we'll get a feel for that as to how they manage this series. I think it's going to be more important to get guys rested and healthy, and at the same time stay in some semblance of a rhythm. It's kind of like we're facing here at the high school level. We hadn't played in a week, and for baseball teams and baseball players, rhythm and repetition and routine are very, very important. And so we've kind of come out of our routine. We've done the best we can to stay in it, but it is what it is when you go a week without playing. So saying that to say, hey, the Pirates haven't played since Saturday, you're going to have some guys that do need some rest, aka Riley Johnson, but you do want to get him some at-bats if you can, just so he can see live pitching. So there's a lot of balance, and I think it'll be an interesting tell of kind of the importance of seeding as we watch how Cliff Godwin manages the club, the roster, the lineups, and kind of in preparation for next Tuesday.
Hey, Mully, good luck to Conley tonight. Also, our other local teams that are participating in the playoffs finally getting onto the field here at the end of the week. We appreciate the time, and thanks for the insight.
Absolutely, buddy. Enjoy Tampa, and I will talk to you soon.
The great Mike Mullis with us here, ESPN Plus, ECU baseball analyst. All right, I'm going to head over to the park about 10 minutes away, so I'm going to do that. Join Coach O in the booth. We'll have radio coverage for you tonight on 94.3, the game, and the IBX Media app. 6:15 will be our airtime. Pilk will carry you home the rest of the way, everybody, so be good to him. He'll be good to you, and we'll catch you later on tonight for ECU baseball.